day everyone, I'm Malcolm and I'm going to be helping out with your Magicka Sorcerer PvP build in this Murkmire patch. I'll be doing it with this guide over here. It's going to be the guide for this patch. I'll be mentioning just about everything I've learned in the past weeks playing Magicka Sorcerer with all sorts of different builds in PvP. This guide is going to consist out of 3 parts. The first one is going to be a general part with changes that happened, changes that are made to just about every build that I run, and just things that I should mention before I get into the actual builds, which I'm going to mention in the second part. Is going to be like builds for this patch, the best ones I have made for this patch so far, and then at the last part there's going to be a sort of honorable mentions section in which I'll be talking about sets and skills that are decent but just not good enough to use. Because like with this patch there's obviously a lot of new opportunities, a lot of new sets to use that might be good, but like I see a lot of people running sets that are like, you know, decent but just underperforms compared to the actual good sets for Magicka Sorcerer this patch. So I'll hope you'll enjoy listening to this guide, I hope you can learn something from it, and yeah, let's get into it. So for the first general part, there's a lot of separate points that I want to mention that count for basically every build. Yeah, so as a first thing I have the shields. So you'll notice now I used to have the hardened ward over here on the front bar. I've now switched this to the resto bar together with the other shields, and then I've placed streak over here. And it's better to run it this way this patch because your health also has defense now. You have to run resistances, physical, spell and crit resistance, which means that you can allow your health to be damaged more. You don't need to be constantly shielding, only when you're taking pressure. And when you are taking pressure, it's also going to be better to have all these shields on the same bar. In this case with conversion and boundless storm and resto ult, which is like all my defensive skills on one bar. If I'm getting pressured, I'm sure that I'm on the right bar to deal with it. Then the benefits that this has is also that you can run the resto ult or undo right now. Like before I always had Etronak because I needed the stamina regeneration bonus over here. Needed to have a Daedric Daedric summoner skill on every bar, so I had Etro. Like, it is a very good skill for Sorcerer. Having this thing can totally change the fight in your favor. But now certainly with the nerfs to Sorcerer and like all the extra pressure you take, Resto ult is really good to just give yourself a breathing moment, or just get away real quick, or just get a kill off real quick. So it's good that I can place this here now. Also for some builds, like obviously roll builds aren't a thing anymore this patch, except for one. Like I've made something that still relies on roll, but in any case it's not going to be that last patch. So with roll being gone, mobility is going to be less, even though like light armor now gives you the 20% snare reduction. It's still going to be less mobile than with an actual roll dodge build like I had last patch. So you could slot undo instead over here, which is going to get that mobility back into your build because you can just juke everything and everyone very easily. Is going to be a great way to deal with people chasing you very far. And it's also going to give you 8% minor protection, of course, so it's good because like all your shields are on the same bar, and they're also going to benefit from this 8% major protection, minor protection when you're under heavy pressure. Then another bonus for running this shield here is that I can now move streak to the front bar. The good thing about this is that often I can now use streak to trigger the fury explosion. More about that later, but it's now very easy. Like if I have someone that's at 25% health and he starts roll dodging all over the place, I can just streak through him right now. It's just going to explode him. It's also going to proc disintegration, by the way. A very good way to finish people off because it's undodgeable. Then, as I mentioned something about Fury, as you know, Magicka Sorcerer got a lot of nerfs this patch. Maybe it's because it's so many hard hitting nerfs, but there's also the Fury nerf that basically no one talks about. It's not even in the patch notes, but yeah, since Murkmire, basically every part of Fury is now dodgeable. In previous patches, like in last patch as well, It used to be that if you had an enemy, let's say 25% health, and he was rolling all the time, you cast Fury at him, he's going to dodge roll the lightning strike itself, but Fury then applies an explosion as a second effect, which is going to trigger in 4 seconds, right? So last patch, this explosion was always going to apply no matter what, and then if you had a curse explosion going on after that, or maybe a gust streak after that, and the enemy was roll dodging, the enemy would explode from the explosion from the skill. This patch, that's not the case anymore. They have made the apply of the explosion dodgeable. So that means if you have an enemy, probably a Stamblade, roll dodging all the time at 25%, he is never going to explode to Endless Fury no matter what you do. So you cast that thing at him, he is roll dodging it, he's going to roll dodge his strike, and he's also going to roll dodge the explosion. Yeah, it was something that was really noticeable for me in the first days of the patch, because I was like, what the hell is going on? Nobody's exploding anymore. Yeah, this undodgeable is of course a good counter. Like if you start roll dodging at 20% health, it's always a good way to stay alive, and versus a Magicka Sorcerer now, since everything they have is dodgeable, except for Curse of course, but that takes a while to fire off, so it's often not very reliable to finish people off with that one. So like there are ways to deal with the undodgeable Fury, of course, though. Mainly just cast it earlier into your rotation, like cast Curse and then Fury straight after instead of doing your other skills first. Another way to deal with this is waiting for the enemy to finish a roll, and you can cast the Fury after that. It's going to hit him just when he exits the roll. It's pretty predictable like that, and it's also good to finish an enemy off like that. As I said, you can streak through him after that. It doesn't matter anymore if he rolls, because the explosion apply is dodgeable, but when it explodes it's not dodgeable. So if you streak to him, it's not dodgeable. He's going to explode, it's not dodgeable either. As long as the apply of the explosion itself hasn't been dodged, he can explode. I hope that was clear, because it's a bit complicated to explain. Like if you have any questions about what I'm explaining here, like just ask them in the comments. I'm there, I'll be replying to you. I can probably sometimes explain it better to you in text. Anyway, so for the next general thing is the traits over here. Now, in last patch I had an infused restoration staff with the shield enchant on it. This patch I've moved this to defending, because yeah, resistance is kind of shield now, so defending is definitely the better trait over here. If you didn't know, about 660 resistance is 1% damage reduction, so this is going to be between like 4-5% damage reduction, something like that. Very useful for a back bar. As I said, I have all my shields over here, so if I'm on heavy pressure I can definitely stay here, benefit from that extra bit of damage reduction that this staff has. Then with it I prefer to run a poison over here. Still the escapist poison I think is the best one out there. You could also run the one that grants you Major Expedition for a short while, but I'm running Boundless Storm over here now, so you already have Major Expedition on demand, meaning that escapist is the best poison here to place. Then I'm not running double poisons because they always share a cooldown, which is not very good I think for like a continuous uptime on both of them. Instead then I've gone for the infused shock glyph on the Master's Inferno. If you go to Destro it deals even more damage. Yeah, best setup if you already have poison on the back bar. If this were not the case, I advise going sharpened this patch. Definitely not Nirnhound, because sharpened, like, it deals more damage than Nirnhound. Last patch of course it didn't do anything against shields. This patch it does, so it's definitely now the best trait to go with for just pure damage, you know, with this sharpened. And next to that, infused with a glyph on it. I've chosen to go with the shock glyph. Like if you feel cancerous you can go with the oblivion glyph as well. But shock I think is really good because it has the concussion proc, so 8% more damage taken on your target, and it also procs disintegration, and it scales with Magicka Sorcerer, and it scales with my race. So talking about race, I'm still a high elf. With this patch I don't think it's the best race anymore. Like if you really want to go with pure numbers, you'd better go with Dark Elf, Argonian or Breton. Breton has its resistances counting on shields now, same with Dark Elf. Like it's a very good counter for decay since it has flame resistance, and it's also immune for the burning effect. It's very useful I think when fighting decays. Then next to that you also have Argonian, which has pros and cons. Like the pros obviously are the potion boost, very high regeneration, You also get a little bit of Magicka and health, but just not enough for it to be worth it for me. And also the healing, like it's useful for dark conversion, but not that noticeable. It's better for like builds that rely completely on healing than the Magicka Sorcerer, which still mostly relies on shields. Now the reason I'm still a high elf is just out of nostalgia. Like I like high elves, and I'm probably going to stay with this race forever. Then for the next part is the potions. Like this is the same as last patch, but I'm just gonna mention it anyway to have this guide be a little bit complete. So with most spells here, I'll just pop the essence of spell power for the Major Prophecy, Major Sorcery, which I then don't have to slot on my bars. magsorc bars are really crowded, so having this potion is really good for that. If you're fighting a Stamina Nightblade or Magical Nightblade, obviously Essence of Detection, which is very similar, is your best bet. In heavy pressure, I often go with Essence of Health. I have a Battleground build as well that I will present. I also use the Essence of Health a lot of the time there. And then obviously if you're getting chased by a Zerg, you just want to get out there. Here, two invisibility potions. This one's going to add healing. This is really like an oh shit potion, I'm getting Zerged, so get out there. And then here, this is more like extreme kiting. We have the Major Expedition, which got nerfed. It's not as long as last patch anymore, but it's still very nice because it lasts as long as the invisibility. Then about the Vampire, I am still a Vampire this patch. Having the extra Stamina regeneration and Magicka regeneration is really useful. You do of course take the extra damage from decays and from Dawnbreakers. Now this is a pretty strong drawback to it, but the benefits are really good too with Death as well. It's a choice, it's a balanced choice. I can't really tell you what to choose here. It's up to you to try both and see what you like most for PvP. It's preference. For the builds, I already have the first one equipped. This one is going to be the most resembling to the last patches. So it's just a 5 Lich over here with the Resto, then a Master Destro with Flame Rage of course. And then a 5-piece armor set and a 2-piece monster set. Like this build is the most flexible, so that's why I'm showing them first, because often when I'm trying new sets, I use them on this build first, just to see how good they are. Like the things I have equipped right now are the same that you saw in my gameplay video, the last 2 clips there. It's with 5 Shacklebreaker, just a good all-around regeneration, damage set. And then Pyroskeleton, which is a very good defensive set, which is going to help a lot with the additional crit damage taken on shield now. For the traits, I've gone with 4 Impenetrable and 3 Well Fitted. Now, these traits are up to you. Like with this, I get about 2.1k critical resistance, but if you want, you can switch out the Well Fitted for more Impen, and you should be touching like 2.7, 2.8k after that. Now, as I said, this build is very flexible. You can run whatever you like on these monster sets and armor sets. For example, if you want to run Zaan over here, like that means you're going to lose out on some defense, so you can like switch Shacklebreaker with Impregnable after that, which is just about the best defensive set, but more about that later. Another example here is someone recently advised me to try this set here, Indomitable Fury, because it should be really high ult regen. Like I've been thinking about trying this set in combination with the Bloodspawn, which should then give the defense again and even more ult regeneration. Should work out nicely. Like I don't know if it's going to be super good for Sorcerer, since you don't have any passives, and like for ult regeneration, the ults themselves aren't that good either, compared to say a Mashblade or a DK for example. And also, like, you don't have any skills that scale well with it. Like one has Shimmering Shield, which is inbuilt Major Heroism. Very nice for running an ult regen build, of course. But still, you know, it's a set I want to try out, and this is the builds I do it with. So that's a good example of a build that I still got to try out, and I do it with this template over here. Now the enchants I have for the specific build with Shacklebreaker and Pyroskeleton is 2 spell damage and 1 stamina regeneration. The enchant of the armor is all Magicka with 1 Tri-Set enchant on the Pyroskeleton, just to get that health up a little bit more, allow my shields to be a little bit bigger. I could run 2 more here and here, but like I don't want the Magicka to go below 39k, just to keep nice damage going. Another example of sets you might want to run here is Mighty Chuden. Now what Mighty Chuden is going to do, it's going to give you the major buffs, major resistance buffs here. That in turn will allow you to switch out the Boundless Storm, and then you can put mines in here instead, which is a really nice skill still, but it's just purely utility. And often the Sorcerer bars are really crowded right now with Boundless Storm entering this patch. And if you want to free some skill up, the best way to do it is with Mighty Chuden and dropping Boundless Storm. This is also the only build I can use mines with, just because for everything, Sorcerer bars are just too overcrowded. That's also a nice part about this build. As I said, it's so flexible, you can run a lot of stuff with this. Now the last important thing for this build is of course the champion points. Champion points is a bit different this patch from last patch, in the case that I can't give you a general setup anymore for every build I have and just be done with that. That is because of in the red tree, the way Bastion is going to scale with the 50% health cap is going to change of course depending on your amount of Magicka and the amount of health you have for every build and every setup. Not only does it change per build, but of course it also changes for the gear quality you have, the enchant quality, etc. So I'm going to show you the CP setup for this first build now. So all three of the parts, I'll show you the green and the blue one first, and then the red one which is specific for this build. And in the next builds I'm also going to show you the red CP, which is going to change every time based on the amount of health and Magicka I have. So for the green tree here I have 56 into Warlord, always good of course, 56 into Mooncalf and 64 into Arcanist. Mooncalf stamina regeneration is very important for magsorc, no matter if you have a roll dodge build or not, just for the dark conversions and for staying having a roll dodge ready when you need it, when you need to get out of a hood or whatever. And it also scales well with Vampire. Now 64 into Mooncalf, let's 13 out of 15% is high enough. Oh, and Tenacity, heavy attacks are still pretty bad for Magicka, for staves in general, because they're so obvious. Even people who don't really know what they're doing, they're going to be able to block it. Then Tumbling 61, roll dodging, it is a very good CP tree. Shadow Ward, yeah, nothing in there because block doesn't do anything for shields. Then for the blue tree, 27 into Lust, this is going to help with the dark conversion heals, which are now more reliable of course. Since you can allow your health to be damaged more, you can have that little second wait time for the healing of dark conversion, which is of course going to help a lot with oblivion damage. And then 44 into Elfborn, 64 into Elemental Expert and 47 into Spell Erosion. I've done more into this CP than before because of course this also counts on shields now. Staff Expert 16, light attacks though is an important part of DPS, so also in PvP I like to put some points in here just because it scales so well. 72 on Master at Arms, it's all your damage. The 23% you see here is actually 23% because sometimes the jump point can make it a percentage below that. It's not the case here for the 25% trees at this specific percentage. Then nothing into this tree. Now the red tree, as I said, is specific for this build, so I'm going to be setting up the red tree here for this build in particular, just so you can see how I do it. And also because you're most likely going to need different numbers than I have over here. So right now I have about 18 into Bastion, which is 8% of my damage shield. I think this is going to be too much considering my stats, as you can see, 38k, 0.5k Magicka and 22.2k health. So I just tested by casting a shield. I see this is 11,084. I can see I reached the health cap here simply because if you do this times 2 I get 22,168, meaning that I have reached the 50% health cap, and I'm probably going to have some points into Bastion that do not have any effect at all. So I'm going to remove points from Bastion and put them into another tree. In this case, going to be resistance for the here for the critical resistance. So for starters, I think it's going to be quite a bit too much. I'll bring this to 5% over here, and I'll just jump this, and I'll just put this over here like this. And then now if I cast my shield again, As you can see, I have still reached the shield cap over here. It's the same value as before, so I'm going to drop it another 2%. So up to 3%, see what this gives, and then put the rest over here. This is very beneficial, of course, because crit resistance is also important for magsorc. If I cast this shield again now, I get 1082. As you can see, I have now a little bit less shields than before. That means that I'm now below the 50% health cap. I'm actually just below it even, so it's a very good spot right here, because it's like 49.9% of my max health. So like that's it. I've now done the setup for the red CP. I have balanced my Bastion CP passive with the other ones to get the most optimal shield size and resistances. Now, just to give you an overview, I'll go over the total red CP here. So 48 into Ironclad, 55 into Resistant. It's really nice critical resistance now. Then 48 in Thick-Skinned, 56 in these two over here, and then 7 into Bastion, giving me a 3% bigger shield. Now, you might be wondering why I am still willing to put points into Bastion, because I know like there's people that just go for O and that and put everything into resistances. That's because of the diminished returns, of course. If you just start out with the CP3 and you put like the first few points in there, you're going to have a very big return for those points, and that's why I do like to get as much Bastion as I can for every build. For the next build, this is a build with very high stats. It is 5 Right Throws Boast, with 5 Shacklebreaker and 2 Mighty Tudor. I'm using Stress Test glyphs on 4 of the armor pieces, this one here, the breeches, and on the helm as well. Of course 5 lights, 1 medium and 1 heavy, full impenetrable. As you can see, the critical resistance is also decently high over here. I'm using Mighty Tudor in this setup in order to run Cage with it. So if I slot this over here, I can switch our streak and drop Boundless because I already have Mighty Tudor. With Cage, I don't need a Master Staff for this, which is I think a very good thing. It's also better against decays, of course, since both Cage, Curse, Force Pulse and Fury are not countered by its wings. I'm running Meteor as an ult. If you want, you can switch this out for Dawnbreaker as well, which is also a very good like ult to make burst with the other skills you have over here. I think it works especially well with Cage because it acts as a sort of a second CC that also deals damage here. As you can see, 13k is quite a bit of damage. Of course, Meteor is still very nice for doing the combo with Cage, so the enemy cannot block it. Then on the bar here, you can see what I have. It is very similar to the previous builds. Now for the food, of course, I'm running Right Throws Boast, so you need a drink for that. I'm running the Witch Mother's food over here. Burst food you can use here as well. It gives you high health, which allows you to go for big shields combined with this high maximum Magicka. And then the variation, as I mentioned with this build as well, is that you go run the Master and Willpower Resto here. Then you can run Reach with this build if you so like to do that. Of course, you're missing out on 2 pieces Shacklebreaker then, and you have to place them on the shoulders and on the head. Now for the Mage Mundus, you can see I'm running the Mage, get some higher maximum Magicka. I have enough like spell damage and Magicka recovery already, so that's why I went with the Magicka Stone. I was going to, as I said, have big shields with the maximum health I already have. Stamina sustain is decent, by the way. As you see, almost 1k stamina recovery and 14.5k stamina. Not going to run out of that anytime soon. Now for the CP of this setup, I've already gone over the green and blue trees in the previous build, so I'll just show the red one right now. I've made this with the same mechanic as I've shown you with the first build. So 56 into Ironclad, 43 into Critical Resistance, 56 Thick-Skinned, 49 into these two. I've sacrificed a little bit, as you can see, because I had 56 in the first build. Now I've gone for 1% less. Those points I have then moved into Bastion, Thick-Skinned and Ironclad, just giving me a bigger bonus actually than I lost by this 1% over here. So then 11 plus points into Bastion, also to get this shield as close to 50% health as I can. Then the next build is a bit of a special one, because this is the only build in this guide that's made specifically for Battlegrounds, so no CP, 4v4v4. It's especially like for this build. I don't advise this for 1vx or Zero Dill or whatever. I'm in the no CP campaign right now just to show you the stats here. So you can see we already have really high health, and this Magicka is going to be high as well because we're running a pet with this one. So as you can see, let's get out of the way. As you can see, I have almost 39k maximum Magicka, which is very nice I think for a no CP build. It's going to be very high shields as well with this high health. Then on damage it's not looking that great, but that's okay because of the stats. Stamina regen also okay because with those stats we can run Tri-Stat Potion. Magicka recovery also okay because of a specific enchant. So if I look at the stats, this build is 5 heavy armor, 2 light armor, and it's also the only one with heavy that I'm making. Now I'm going to get this pet out of the way because it's annoying me. So as you can see here, I have Torx Pact and Necro Buttons. That's why the max Magicka gets so high. Torx Pact is going to be my regeneration and my damage, of course. We're having double Destro. One is an Ice Staff, one is an Inferno Staff. The Inferno Staff, like both staves, are infused. This one has a Magicka regeneration enchant, so like this practically means almost 500 to 600 Magicka regeneration, which of course fixes all sort of Magicka problems. Can also easily heavy attack with this one, very useful. Also a no CP heavy attack is much more potent. Now here I have a Shock Glyph. As I said before, if you're feeling cancerous you can go with Oblivion Glyph, but I just like this because it synergizes well with my other passives. As the monster set, I have Scoria over here. That's because we're running a lot of dots. So for the skills I have Reach on one bar and Blockade of Frost on the other bar, and I also have the Icy Rage ultimate here with the Soul Sword here. That's all dots. I think Curse also, yeah, it's also going to proc the Scoria. Not 100% sure actually, but it's whatever because I have enough dots. So all this is going to be proccing Scoria, but very good in Battlegrounds just because of that. This goes 3 damage, it's a lot of damage, so definitely advise running that. For the other skill, as you can see, we all have the usual Sorc setup, so you can go with Curse, Fury, Kill Stealing, Flame Reach and Fragments of course. It's also a really nice ult to just take someone down who's at low health already, and simply just a lot of damage over a short period, which is hard to deal with in Battlegrounds for most people since like there's a lot less regeneration and tankiness over there. Icy Rage is more an ult for groups, like putting this together with this is going to be an insane amount of control over the enemy group. And this Blockade of Frost is also still going to proc enchant, so if an enemy stands in there, this regeneration enchant is going to proc all the time. Combine that with the pressure you can deal from just doing light attacks and skills on the Inferno Staff, you're going to have 2 enchants proccing all the time, much like it was before the enchant nerf. Like I have a similar build on my YouTube, on my gameplay video, which has Reach instead of Blockade over here. That doesn't work anymore because Reach doesn't proc enchants anymore on its dot. But Blockade of course still does, so that's why I use this, and it's especially good in Battlegrounds. Defense, I have 1 shield here, Bound the Storm for the armor of course, and then the Twilight, which is going to heal me. Very nice, together with the off healing from the team members, also very nice. Streak is mandatory I think as well for BGs, like just because it's going to get you around the corner really quick, allowing you to escape very efficiently, and it's also going to be an AoE stun. There aren't many spammable AoE stuns. Well, I say spammable, not super spammable, but like on demand whenever you like it, and it's just on the skill as well, it's not built. So definitely run this in Battlegrounds. So this build is a bit of a roll build with the same functions as last patch with all my roll builds. Basically I'm running 5 Impregnable, full well fitted, and 5 Armor Plasm. This is full well fitted on the gear with 3 times spell damage on the jewelry. and then a Master Staff and a Willpower Resto. So with this full well fitted, I can of course roll a lot still, especially with the Stamina Sustain, which is decent. I'm going to be able to use rollers with the same benefit as in last patch, which are of course the damage reduction and the extreme ability it gives. And that also makes this the most mobile build I have right now. Yeah, it is light armor, so I get a snare reduction, and I have lightning form as well, which is then going to give me the major speed, of course. Yeah, so like that's really why I made this build in particular, just to be able to kite zergs like none other. If you want, you can also use undo on this, just crazy for kiting really. I have not gone with any additional health enchant or trash stat enchants, because as you can see, Impregnable here already has a bonus of maximum health, which is really nice to getting the health like I think just above 23k into Citadel, which is just enough I think for me. If I switch to the back bar, as you can see, I have 40.5k Magicka for the shields, which is going to allow me to have big shields with 23k Magicka health combined. Then for the skills, as I said, I had a Master Staff, so this is built with Reach. I think it's the best playstyle for a roll dodge build, because Reach is a really quick way to burst someone. With gauges it can take a while to set up some burst, which then is also going to hit really hard. But with Reach it's going to be much quicker, which fits the roll dodge playstyle. It's really based on just high mobility, getting in there, getting a kill, and then moving around somewhere else and doing the same thing over again. I'm also using Meteor for this. It's ranged, so I can also get a quick kill with the Reach and the burst combo I make. On the back bar, this is the classic back bar with Mountain Storm, of course. Now conversion, and I want to have this here with the Stamina Sustain I have, and then the Resto ult, which can also be changed to undo if you like, for some extra mobility. Then for the CP in this build here, again only the red CP is different from the previous ones. I have 56 into Ironclad, 45 into Resistant, then 56 into Thick Skinned, 49 into these two over here, then 9 into Bastion. This is going to get the shield just above the 50% health cap, it's like 50.1% or something. Yeah, and then 6 into Expert Defender. As I said before, light attacks can deal a lot of damage, so having a few points into this skill, which scales really well, like look at this 4% from like 6 points into that's very good scaling, so it's definitely worth putting something in there. Then for the last build, this is a bit resembling to the first build. It's with spell power, spell strategist, jewelry and destruction staff, then restoration staff of willpower, and then again a 5-piece armor set and a 2-piece monster set. Pretty flexible, you can switch this out if you like. So I've gone with Sacrebreaker and Pirate Skeleton, just like the first build. You can use other sets if you like. Impregnable is a good one instead of the 5-piece armor set. For monster set like Zaan, Engine, it's all good just like in the first build. I've gone with this again for the sake of consistency, but also because, as I said, it's a very good general setup. Back bar, 41k Magicka, large shields, 38k Magicka on the front bar, with a decent amount of damage, considering we're running an infused staff, and we're running spell strategist, and we have the spell damage enchant over here, going to boost that spell damage super high, making for a very hard hitting build, while keeping good regeneration and defenses as well. Yeah, about the critical resistance, I do have to well fitted here. With Sacrebreaker I always like to run some fitted to be able to roll dodge a little bit more. It's always good for mobility. Yeah, and for the enchant here, I've chosen to go with spell damage. You can go with the shock lift, it's probably going to be a bit better, like if you look purely at the damage over time, it does. But I like to go with this because light attack gives you like more than 1k damage when it's buffed, and it's going to make for some very hard hitting curses and fragments, which I think is very enjoyable to play like that. Then for the skills, there is 2 ways you can run this build. The first one is with the classic reach setup, this back bar. Now, There's a difference in playstyle though, like normally with the Master Staff you could be able to spam Reach, keep pressure up like that. But here in this build, Reach is purely intended for its CC. The point is to make burst after burst, using Curse, Fragments, Fury, CC and Ultimate. Can be Meteor, can be Dawnbreaker. So this is then an extremely high damaging burst. The sustained pressure is going to be less since Reach, like you can spam it of course, but it's not going to do very much because of its low damage and high cost now. If you look at this 3.2k Magicka, it's pretty expensive without the Master Staff. Back bar, as you can see, classic back bar. So the second way you can run this is with Cage, of course. Put Cage over here, streak on this bar, and Force Pulse over here. Now this is going to give you spam balls, so you have more pressure. Also against decays, you're going to be able to do more damage. Yeah, the loss of this setup, of course, is that you have to drop down the Storm, and that means that you will have to run Mighty Tune in here, unless if you feel like you can deal with it. Maybe you can go with Impregnable, as I mentioned before, and then another monster set after all. But I advise Mighty Tune if you don't have the resistance buffs from your skills. I'll show you some honorable mentions that I have, so like gear, skills, whatever that I tried, but I just didn't find it good enough. While it does seem to be good, and there's other people sometimes running it, but yeah, so like things that are good but not good enough, so I don't advise running it unless if you really want to, of course. First off is a drink over here. Something I tried a lot with Brightroad's Boast is spring-loaded infusion. Basically this is a drink that looks like the classic dry food but just gives slightly lesser stats. I've tried it on the build with Brightroad and Shackle Breaker, but I didn't find it good enough because the stam regen is a bit overkill there, which makes me having to drop Trasted Glyphs, which is then going to reduce my health, which is not something I want to do for this build because I can't get really high stats with it. Next up are some skills. I'm gonna start off with Empowered Ward. So some people run Empowered Ward because of the extra regeneration it gives, and because it's a smaller shield, so they don't have to build it to health that much. But I really still don't think this is a viable option, because the bonus for mass regen to begin is pretty small, right? It's just minor intellect, it's 10%, it's like what, 180 Magicka regeneration. It's not worth it comparing it to the drawbacks of running this skill. So like, to begin with, you're not going to have as much health with this skill because you don't need to, which is going to make you squishier. Then also this is a much smaller shield, it's 20% smaller, which means that you're going to have to put more CP into Bastion to get it to that 40% health cap you have with that skill. And if you put more CP into Bastion, it means you're going to have less CP into the other resistances, which is again going to make you squishier. So like all this for the 10% Magicka regeneration, I don't think it's worth it. So Harmed Ward, in my opinion, is still the best option here. Next up are pets. Now I have one pet build, right, for Battlegrounds. It's okay because they don't get hit that much over there, but for solo open world I really don't advise running pets, because it is way too easy for someone who wants to counter a Magicka Sorcerer to just kill off the pet while his allies are busy pressuring the Sorcerer. And when this pet is dead and you have a build that relies on the pet heal or the pet damage, yeah, you're basically screwed, because it takes a long time to resummon this thing, and you don't always have this in 1vx, so in the end it's easy to counter a build like that in open world, which is why I don't want to run pets. Then the other morph of Harnessed Magicka over here, Dampen Magic, is also going to scale to 50% health. Not worth it simply because the regeneration from Harnessed Magicka is really strong. Also this patch, like, you get your shield cost almost back, it's very noticeable, the difference. You already have a shield at 50% health, which is hard to ward, so if you need to use the big shield, you cast this, and then underneath you cast Harnessed Magicka to get regeneration back. It should be enough as a defense. Then for the Overload ultimate here, Very good ultimate, of course. Like, it's extremely high pressure against any non-decay. But that's where the problem is, it doesn't work at all versus decays, because they have rings, of course, and you're going to kill yourself sooner than you're going to kill the decay with this. Now, this is a problem for me because it's my offensive ultimate. I need to be able to burst everyone with it. If I cannot fire it at decays, that means like in 1 out of 5 players I see, I'm not going to be able to use this ultimate, which I think is really bad. But still, it's if you look at anything that's not a decay, like definitely an extremely good health. The pressure is so high, worth giving a try. Like it's pretty fun to play as well. Just like when I fight a decay with this, I just get so frustrated. I cannot run this in the open world anymore then. And worth mentioning, the skill says that it costs 22 ultimate. It's true, of course, when you cast a light attack, you lose that amount of ultimate. But at the same time, your ult regeneration is disabled, which means you're basically also using out on your base ult regen, which is going to increase the cost a lot, okay? So the ult is not that as cheap as it seems in the first place. Now for the armor, light versus heavy, of course, is now an option. I do run heavy in the battlegrounds simply because you need the resistances, otherwise you get one shot. And because I have the enchants, which do not scale very well with like damage stats like penetration and whatever. I have Torx anyway, going to deal lots of damage, and that's why heavy is definitely a good option over here. Also for the damage it gives in open world. However, I always advise to go with light armor because of the snare reduction, sprint cost reduction works really nice with Bound to Storm, of course, and then of course this big damage boost. If you lose out on that, it's really noticeable and it's hard to like get it back into your build. Even running Spinner is not going to give you any damage like that's even comparable to this. Talking about Spinner, good damage set of course, but I still don't like it, even though like it counts on shields etc. now, simply because you have spell strategies now, which is the best damage set out there right now, better than Spinner. So yeah, that's really simple. Like Spinner is just outperformed by spell strategist. So now a few honorable mentions from the sets. I'll start out with comparing impregnable armor with fortified brass. Definitely impregnable armor is going to be better in all cases. Even if you already have high critical resistance, it never hurts to have more. It doesn't have any diminishing returns or whatever. Same goes for resistances, of course, but impregnable armor is going to help you take less damage from crits, especially much less damage, which is the main problem for Sorc shields right now. Its crits is going to be a really big help with that. Also, if you look at the 5-piece set bonus for fortified brass, remember I told you earlier 660 armor is 1% damage reduction. So this set is going to be like 7 to 8% damage reduction on its 5-piece bonus. Not very much. There's even sets that give you minor protection, which is already 8%, so probably more than what this gives. And definitely this here is going to give you a lot more resistances as well, overall resistances, because of the huge amount of damage reduction from crit that this thing does. And next to that, if you compare the 2, 3 and 4-piece bonuses, the 2-piece bonus is identical, of course. It's useful, it's health, we need some extra health now. But the 3 and the 4-piece bonus, if we look at this set, like physical resistance and spell resistance in a separate bonus, it's not very good, okay? Monster sets are way better for this because they give it in the same bonus. Here it's separated. And of course, if we compare it to the 3 and 4 bonuses over here, stamina and Magicka are something you need as well. If you go with fortified, you risk lacking base stats like here the Magicka and the stamina. You still need high Magicka. High stamina is also always useful because of the high burst of stamina you use when you have to like do a break free into a roll after getting fossilized. So definitely impregnable is going to be better here. For the backbar sets, you have Armor Master, of course. For the 5-piece bonus, a bit of the same problem as brass. It's not very much. It's again like 8% damage reduction. Not very much. If you compare it to Lich, which gives you like 1k regeneration over 20 seconds, like Lich is much more potent than this set is. If you do need extra defenses, like just go with impregnable on your armor or something on a monster set. Now, this set does also have the 3 and 4-piece bonuses, which are equally bad as for fortified brass. And then if you look at the 50 bonus, it's only when you cast Harness, and it lasts for 10 seconds. The problem with that is, if you take High Burst, the first thing you're going to do is cast Hardened One, because it's the biggest shield. If you don't cast the biggest shield, you risk of just getting one shot through your shields. So yeah, Hardened goes first, which means that on an important part of the burst you might already be missing out on the resistances that this set is going to give, which is also a bad thing. Then as the last defense set we have Transmutation. Here it is. I'll equip it so I can show the tooltip. Okay, so if pure defense wise I think this is the best backbar set. It's a big amount of critical resistance it gives, and of course which is the best for Magicka Sorcerer, since the real nerf to shields is that they take crits now. If you can counter that, it's very good. But again, Lich is going to give you more than 1k regeneration over 20 seconds, much more potent than this set is. Also you need a healing over time ability from this set, so like in groups you're also already going to get that automatically of course, but if you don't you'll be forced to run things like rapid regeneration and stuff like that. So that's why I still prefer Lich over that. So that's it for this guide. I hope you enjoyed watching it all the way through. This should definitely give you a good idea on what magsorc will be like, despite what you can do with it. If you have any more questions about what I was telling you, just put them in the comments. As I said, I will read them every now and then, and I will give you an answer there. Next to that, I'll also be at 1k subscribers soon, which is interesting. When I reach that, I might do something special. I don't know what, but I'll figure something out. So yeah, thanks again for watching and have a good day.